Hey Chuckleheads, welcome back to another episode of Space Engineers. It's been a while. I've been really busy doing a lot of different things in here, trying new things, building lots of things that I've seen some videos of people doing and want to get a little experimentation and seeing if I can figure out what they're doing and how they're doing it and start doing some of those really cool base building, shipbuilding things that I've seen a lot of the other creators do that play this game. Of course, they've been playing it for years. I've only been playing it for like a month, so I'm not anywhere near as skilled as many of them are. So most of mine are going to be pretty simplistic. And you can see here I've got kind of a new base area. Well, I was way over there, like 40 kilometers, a big long trip away out in the desert. And there was a lot of good resources there. But it was missing that ice. And ice is hugely important because you need that for ships to get into space. The thrusters I have on this only work in an atmosphere. They have to have air. They don't work in space, obviously, because there's no air in space. But you get ice. You can make hydrogen thrusters, and those can work in both the atmosphere and space. So I need ice if I'm ever going to get out off this planet. So I decided to move over here. So I packed up my base, moved it over here, got some wind towers up, got a solar panel up, put a basic refinery and assembler and things, and even designed this fun little buggy in here. Let's go check it out. Not that thing. This thing. Because you've already seen that. That was at the old base. This, I decided, you know what, this is a pretty flat-ish area, or at least it was. Kind of hard to tell now. I wonder if... let me see if I can change something. Time of day offset. Oh, there we go. Let's make it a little bit brighter so we can see what's going on. So, it's a nice little valley, kind of pretty. So I thought, you know what, I'll try building a new base here. We'll do it inside the hill, maybe a multi-level thing, be kind of creative, look cool. And also because the ore was like right there, and I didn't want to build my base right on top of the ore because I'm going to be digging out that whole area and turning it into basically little canyons. And I didn't like the idea of that being right in front of my base. That's kind of why I didn't like the other base, because I had drilled right beside it, and it was kind of ugly and awkward and really limiting. So I thought I'd try something new. So I came over here, and I'm thinking I'll build the base up on the hill, out of the way, and then I'll just have kind of a mobile drill. The same sort of design I had at the base, but this time attached to a vehicle that can drive around. And so this is what I came up with. Got a couple pistons here that can push down into the ground just like at the old base. Got some drill heads on there. And I've got it attached to a rotor so that it can rotate up into position, and then when it's done, it can rotate down into this stored position. Got a bunch of small cargo containers to hold all the ore. And yeah, it was a nice little design. Only problem is, really did not work very well. I mean, it got good amounts of ore stored into it, but the four wheels just, well, being on a hillside, that is kind of a steep angle. And carrying all the weight that it had didn't really work. It had a tough time climbing up here, but it could do it. And then I thought to myself, I was like, it's kind of boring. I watch videos of people that play this game, and they have things like pirates and other things going on that they have to worry about. But for some reason, when they made the game public and took it out of the early access, they decided to not put the pirates on planets. I guess there was some issue with the pirate bases spawning in the ground and causing all sorts of problems. So for now, I guess the pirates are only out in space, which is disappointing, because now there's no real challenge here for me on the planet. So I was like, okay, well, there's some settings like, the environment. And my current environment was a safe one. So I'm like, okay, well, let me change from a safe environment to a not so safe environment. And that was not a good idea, because what that did was create a lot of meteor showers, which when the meteors hit, now they didn't actually hit my base, they didn't hit my ships, but you can see they hit all around my base, especially right in front of where my little drill buggy needs to go in and out, and they made these massively rough craters. that are really almost impossible for me to drive through, around, over, whatever. So, yeah, that created some huge problems. Like this, there's no way I'm driving through this, around this. It just became too, it took me like a half an hour one time just to get this, my drill buggy from down here, parked up there, just because these are all in the way. There's no way to really maneuver around them and crawl up this hill at the same time. It just turned into a nightmare. So I said, all right, forget that. We're going to do something different. We're going to try someplace else. So I went and started over. And again, I went back to doing the survival, crash landing on a planet. All you've got is your little escape pod thing and a couple tools out in the middle of nowhere sort of scenario. And from there, I've ended up spending a lot of time working my way up to this mess that you're looking at saying, what the heck is all of that? Well, you know what? I'll explain it to you. And I'll use small words so you be sure to understand. Okay, first of all, this right here, the basic pod you see here, that's your escape shuttle that you crash land in. And it only comes with 4 engines that go up and down, so you don't have any steering engines on it. So it's pretty much useless. So what you gotta do is you gotta basically just start digging into the ground, get some minerals and things, and then see if you can start upgrading this to where you can, I don't know, find someplace new or explore. Or wait. Doors are open. Doors are open. Alright, okay, good. Thought they'd closed on me for a second. Alright, so, I mean, you can see I've heavily modded this ship. I put a lot of different engines on it. I put a cockpit on it. I put a drill bit on it so that I can use it for lots of different things. But it didn't start this way. But I had to turn it this way before I could ever actually become productive. Because where I was at was not a very good place to start. I mean, it was alright. It had a couple ore deposits around it. And there wasn't like really anything terrible about where I was at. But it just was not a really productive area. There was not a whole lot of room for expansion. There was not a whole lot of resources there. And I would have ended up having to move anyway. So I knew it was not going to be a good place. So as soon as I could, I got out of there and found someplace new. So down here in this valley is actually where I crash landed. Or I wouldn't say crash landed. It's where my escape shuttle landed. Down over right there at about the corner where that cliff, that mountain starts, where the cursor is at. And I was actually pretty handy because right next to me, right over here, where these trees and bushes are at, there's a nice little deposit of cobalt. And cobalt is very, very important because you can't build motors and engines without it. And I needed those in order to turn the escape shuttle into something that I could fly around and do some exploring with. So this is pretty much where my first base was. Somewhere around here. Oh, it's over here, I believe. Is it over here at this tree, or is it... Or is it there? It shouldn't be that tree. Should be... Oh, it's over here. Listen. Yep, this right here. That little hole right there, that's where I dug in to go get all the minerals and things I needed to build this up enough so that I could start to fly it around and go exploring. Because, again, it's a nice wide valley. There's plenty of room. But the different types of minerals were pretty rare. And again, there was no ice lake, and you're eventually going to need ice to get into space. So I knew this was not going to be a good place for a permanent base. So I knew I was going to have to move. So I didn't even bother building anything large. I just did the bare minimum, put up like a wind tower, a basic refinery, basic assembler, just enough to do enough to make the components for a couple engines I could slap on here. And then I took this thing up, went flying around, went exploring. I was looking for where can I find a good place for a new base. And things I was looking for was, again, lots of resources, preferably wide open area with plenty of room to expand, plenty of direct sunlight so I don't have mountains in the way blocking solar panels and the amount of sun I can get, so I can use solar panels more efficiently, and also, more importantly, a good, solid, large source of ice. And I went all over the place. Went out that way, went out that way, went traveling all over those mountains, exploring quite a lot of different areas. But the best place I found was really just right next door. Just come up the cliff, across this little plain here, into this forest with this nice, sharp, straight line boundary for some reason. I don't know why. And then right over here, right down past these forests, right at the base of these mountains, there's a nice little ice lake. Not too easy to get to, I will say that. But probably one of the easier ones, because the other ice lakes I found were even more difficult. They were just surrounded by cliffs. This one at least has some slope sides to it, so I can probably drive something down there. So there's my ice, and I'm like, this seems like a nice area. And as I'm flying around, I'm seeing, hey, here's some gold, here's some silver, here's some iron, here's some silicon. So all the different things I need are all within really easy driving, flying distance to be able to get to. So I said, all right, you know what? This seems like the place to be. So here's where I'm going to be. So I brought all my stuff up from the valley down below. And from there, just built and built and built and built until you get this wonderful little thing here. This is my base now. You can see pretty pretty complex. Got a lot of things going here. Not the biggest, most complicated base. I've seen some videos of some guys that do this stuff that they have unbelievably complicated bases. Who know? I couldn't even begin to think of all the stuff that they've got in there and how much work they put into it. But I like mine for now because, you know, this is where I'm at. I'm still learning the game, so there's still a lot of stuff that I don't know how to do. And since I just kind of started with this base, I haven't really built a massive, large rooms, complexes, things that some of the other people have got where they've got, like, I don't know, huge underground hangars with like dozen ships, and it's crazy what some people have done. But for me, this is my base, and I think it's pretty dang impressive. I've done a lot of things with it, tried and experimented with a lot of things, because that's the whole goal of this game, is to try things, experiment, and see what happens. So, to give a little tour, I've got lots of really crazy color-coded things here that I'll explain in a little bit. But we'll just start from the outside first, and we'll go out here. Gotta be careful of the doors. Last time I went through them, they hurt me. So you can see back here, I've got my wind towers. And I've got solar panels back here. And these solar panels are actually on rotators. And they're set up to attempt to follow the sun. So the sun does rotate around. It's supposed to be on a 1 hour day, 1 hour night cycle, but it's not actually precisely 1 hour, so it's a little bit off. So these are timed to run for an hour and then swing back. So they do get most of the sun. You can see all the little green lights are lit up saying that they're getting a solid concentration of sunlight. They're pulling in the most amount of power. They're at their most efficient, so that's good. So I'm pulling in lots of power. I've got timer blocks here, so this thing here that's blinking, that's timing, and basically what's going to happen, let's look at it. So it's got the timer, and when this timer runs out, it's basically just going to tell these things, alright, rotate back around to your starting position. And they will, and then they'll sit there and wait. And then the timer will go off again and say, okay, now start going again. And they will slowly work their way back the other way. And so it just keeps repeating that cycle of this way and then back and forth and back and forth. I also built a new and improved version of my mining rig. Much bigger, more complicated. I added some extra wheels for more power and stability. I also made a much more complicated and bigger drilling set. The last one had like basically 2 pistons. This one's got 6. So I can go like 3 times as deep, plus much bigger drilling area. Much bigger drilling area. And on top of that, I've got the largest cargo container you can have stacked on this thing. And the fun part is, this drill system, I can drill out so much ore and dirt and stone that it literally takes over 2 full trips of filling up this thing here to get one complete drill all the way down, like extending every piston all the way down. It takes 2 trips. So like first time I start, I can do the first couple, 2.5, 3 pistons, extend them down, up, full up, gotta come back and unload. Okay, go back to the hole, okay, go back in, then I can get the 4th and the 5th and the 6th piston down, and then I can get the hole done. And that's a lot. I mean, this thing holds over 400,000 liters. Hundreds of tons of material can fit into this. And it's still not enough for one complete extension. Let me see if I can extend. Let's see if I can extend this whole thing. We can see how long it goes, how deep it would go. So I'm just going to, actually I'll do it this way. I'm just going to go in here into the cockpit, and we're just going to extend and see how it works. I haven't done this, so I don't know if it's going to work. We'll just extend all of them. It may actually cause problems because the weight may get too far out and it may break the rotor that's holding it. But it's going to be a really long, deep hole that this drills. So while that's doing that, you'll notice that I've got this socketed into this connector that's got this dark gray border around it. And then there's another one up here that's got the same thing with my miner ship that I had from the other game, which somehow magically made it into this game. And I'm going to tell you right now, I did not actually build this. It's identical to the one from the other game that I was just at. But I did not have to rebuild this piece by piece, hand by hand. I'll show you that in a little bit, how that works. Yeah, I was afraid of that. That just, it's so heavy that the rotor can't even hold it. And I've got the rotor maxed out on strength too. So, but you can see, that's going to be really deep. That will dig really deep into the ground. And it's got that big wide head on it, so it's going to make a big hole. Sucks up a lot of dirt. Alright, let's go back to 3, 4, 5, 6. Alright. We'll just suck that back in. Hopefully everything will be fine. So you'll see on the walls of my base, I've got these turrets. Because I do have this game set up to where there are wild animals. There's wolves out there. And if I'm not paying attention, I'm just hanging out on the ground, the wolves can actually sneak up on you and attack you and kill you. They've done that to me several times. In fact, one time, they killed me 8 times in a row because I was not paying attention to the game. I was like tabbed out watching a video because I had my little ship that I was just flying in. Oops, where is that? This little one here. I was waiting for its battery to charge. And so I was just sitting there because it was like 30 minutes to charge. And I was like, okay, well, I've got nothing to do for 30 minutes, so let me go watch a video and learn some more things about this game. And I came back 30 minutes later, and there was like 8 bodies on the ground, where the dumb dogs had killed me like 8 times and I didn't even know it. So they come running around my base. I got turrets to shoot them, and haven't had any problems since then. Haven't died to the stupid wolves since then, because the turrets can shoot them from quite a ways away, several hundred meters away. Alright, so yeah, there it is. It's back and everything's fine. But yeah, this is a really cool rig. It does have problems, because that can carry so much, it gets so heavy, that even with these big wheels, it does have issues going up inclines. So I did put some jet rockets on it, so that if we're having trouble going up some hills and things, I can turn on these jet engines and that can kind of give me a little bit of boost to help climb the hills. So what happens normally, or at least what should happen, is I go out and I drive this out there somewhere, and I go and I drill that into the ground. It makes a big deep hole, sucks up a lot of dirt. Dirt goes in here, and then I drive it back here, and I plug it into that socket. Or I go flying out in this thing, and I go digging into the ground, and I suck up a lot of stuff. It's got cargo containers hidden underneath all these engines. There's like 4 of them there. And I bring it back and I land it on top of this one, both of which have that dark gray outline. But you'll notice there's some other connectors over there that got green. Well, there's a reason for that, because I have a system. The dark gray is for ore that gets dug out of the ground. It comes into this dark gray cargo container. From here, it gets pulled into all of these bright red refineries. I've got 4 of them set up. So they'll pull all the ore out, they'll process it, turn it into ingots. The ingots will be sucked out along to these red tubes into this red cargo container here. So this is nothing but processed ingots. Alright? And then they'll sit there until I decide I want to build something. And I'm like, you know what? I need more, I don't know, steel plates or something. So then I put in an order for my assemblers here to make more steel plates, more computers, more metal tubes, whatever it is I need. And these will just suck the ingots they need out of this, suck them into here, build them into whatever I need, and then whatever gets built gets sucked into these green containers. So these green containers have all the processed components: construction components, metal components, detector components, ammo magazines, solar cells, credits, metal grids, steel plates, tubes, blah blah, blah, all the stuff, motors, everything. It all is going to be in here. So this is all the stuff that I need to build bases and ships and trucks and all the things straight out of here. So I don't actually... Oh, guns are going off, guns are going off. They're shooting something. What are they shooting? Where did it shoot? Where'd it go? Where'd it go? Oh, I missed it. Is that it? Nope, that's just a bush. Poodoo. Oh well. I like it when they shoot the wolves. It makes me happy. Because the wolves are mean. There's supposed to be spiders in this game too. I turned on the spiders, but I think the spiders might be on like alien planets or something. Because they're not here. I haven't found them yet. All I've gotten is the wolves. So, the way this is set up is the ore can only go into the refineries. It can't go anywhere else, because I put these restrictor blocks on it, these sorters. They only allow things to move in certain directions. So if I'm sitting over here, say for instance, if I open up this and I try to go to my ores, well, here's my cargo, I cannot pull that out because there's blocks in the way. So this is set up to be the most efficient possible, where the ore only will go to the refineries, and then the refineries will only go to this, and this will only go to these. So we're not mixing stuff up, because one of the things that happens if you don't have those restrictors on it, you end up getting your ores and your ingots and your components all mixed up together, and it gets really, really hard to find things. This way, I know exactly where everything is at. The ore is over here, the ingots are here, and all the building components are here. This is the hydrogen and oxygen setup. So that's that ice that is so important. It comes in here, same as all the ores, but then it goes through here, and that's what this thing here, it says only ice, nothing else can go. And this will separate the ice into oxygen, hydrogen, and this will store the hydrogen in case I need it later. Now I do have the hydrogen access going to these green ports, so that if I'm hanging out outside somewhere, if I'm up on my roof, and I'm looking at it and saying, uh-oh, oops, let me go up to my roof. Dum 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 dum. Here we go. So if I go up to the roof, these green ones here say, hey, the green ones have access to the green cargo containers inside. So I can go in here, I can go to my components, and I have access to the cargo components. And I can pull those out if I need them. But I can also, because I've connected the blue lines, I can go to my O2H2 and I can say, you know what? My hydrogen bottle is empty. I can send my hydrogen bottle all the way down to the hydrogen generators and it will fill it up and send it back to me. And I can do it with that one too. Because I did not put the restrictors on those, so I can send from the green ones all the way back to the blue stuff and back and forth. So that I have access to the stuff I need, and I don't have access to the stuff that I really don't need access to. So it keeps things simpler. Alright, so I've got some ships here to show you. We've already seen the miner in a previous episode. I'll show you how I built that and why it's here now, even though this is a totally new game. And it's exactly identical to the one that I had. But this one here, this is a welder. And the whole idea is, well, I mean, you look at this base. Look at how big it is. Imagine trying to weld every single one of these blocks piece by piece by hand. That would take forever. Well, that's where this comes in. So this is a welder where you can just go in, and if I go into the inventory of the ship, and I go to the large car container, and then I go to my components, search components, and I want to take, now here's where I have to be careful, and I messed this up before. This says it can hold 15,000 liters of stuff, and it can. The problem is my ship engines are not strong enough to hold the weight of all of that. So I have to be careful. I can only put in about that much. I can put in about half. My engines can handle about that much weight. So if I turn the charger on, turn the engines on, unlock, and there we go. So now I've got this ship. I've got a bunch of steel plates in it, and I've got the welders on the front. So if I feel like, you know what, I need to do some welding, I've got the supplies in here. I just go fly around to the point where I need to do it. And I think there was a part around here that maybe got damaged, because sometimes when my turrets shoot, they don't pay attention to what they're shooting at and what's in the way. For instance, oh look, here's a little bit of damage. See, this is not a nice straight line. That means it's been damaged. So we can just come over here, and I can turn my welders on, and it will use the stuff in the cargo that I put in to fix it. Is there anything else that needs fixing? That looks alright. So this way I can do large sets of welding, like giant walls and roofs and floors, or those big towers, or all of those solar panels, a lot faster than if I try to do it by hand. So it makes things a lot more convenient that way. You can do large scale construction projects a little bit faster. Alright, let's line this up. Oops, other direction. Gotta line it up so we can put it back on its docking port. Oh. What are we shooting at? What are we shooting at? Don't know. It's too fast. I don't see. Alright. So let's dock back up. Am I not lined up? Nope, I'm way off. There we go. Alright, lock on, engines off, back to recharging. And let's dump those steel plates back in, because I actually don't really need them right now. I'll probably need them later, but not right now. No. Oh, right, I forgot to rename this. I made another cargo container, that's why they're both there. Oh well. The other ship that you see next to me, this one here, I call this the dumper, because that's what it does. When you go digging holes in the ground and you basically mine a bunch of stone, one of the byproducts of stone is gravel. Shocker, I know, right? That when you process stone, you get little stones called gravel. Well, gravel is not very useful in this game. It is useful for a couple things. There are a couple components that do require gravel, but you get like tons of this stuff, and you never need tons of it. So what happens is you end up with, let's do this. Let's go search the ore. Nope, I don't have any left. So, because I already dumped it all. So if you go mine things, and you end up with, oh no, it wasn't in the ore, it's in the ingots. Durr. Ingots. Ah, there it is. Alright, dummy. So when you've refined it, and you've pulled all the iron and the nickel and the silicon out of the stone, and you've got gravel as a byproduct, and it's just going to sit there and it's going to take up a lot of space because you can get a lot of gravel. And you don't want it to take up a lot of space because you don't really need hardly any of it. So you need to get rid of it somehow. Well, that's where this little ship comes in, because what I can do is I can focus on my ship. Oh, but I've already got some in here. Good. So what I will do is I'll put some last little bit of gravel. And so now I've got the gravel in the ship. So we're going to turn our batteries on, engines on, and disconnect. And we'll just fly this little sucker out this way. So over here I have some holes that I already did some mining in. I've already been over here mining because this is where some iron is at. Come on. Yeah, momentum is fun in this game. You really have to be careful about the physics, because they do model the physics pretty well in a lot of ways. Like, you get really loaded up, you get a lot of weight to you, and you can just go flying off. Your inertia, your momentum will just keep carrying you. If you don't have enough engines to stop you, you just go flying off forever. So this little thing, I've got all that gravel stored in the cargo containers here, but you'll see on the side I've got ejection ports. So what happens is I turn on the injection ports, and they just start dumping all the gravel. So I can just dump it back into the holes that I drilled. And we just wait a little bit till the cargo is empty. It's almost there. You can see those holes over there. Those are for my new rig. These little tinier holes that I'm sitting right over, this was like for my first version that had the smaller drill head on it. Couldn't get as deep. Then I went and made my big monster version over there and got that. I got a lot of stuff out of those holes. Alright, so now that I've emptied the cargo, I need to turn the ejectors off, and then we can head back to base. And that's just kind of what this ship is about. It's just kind of a janitor sort of thing, taking out the trash. Whoa, yep. Definitely does not have enough engines to control its speed, its momentum. But that's alright, it just makes things more fun. Alright, so let's park. Ooh, too much side swing there. Other direction. Doing things backwards is always a little bit tricky because your brain says, I want to go that way. But then you have to think, no, I'm facing backwards, so my directions are reversed. And down, and there we go. Alright, lock on, engines off, batteries recharged, and good to go. So each of these green connectors has access to all the building components in the green containers inside. They've also got access to the hydrogen bottle making little, I forget what they were called. Oh, the oxygen hydrogen generators, that's right, so makes things a lot more convenient, so I can get access to things I want. I can dump out things if they're excess, so I can get rid of anything filling up my cargo containers. I can get supplies in, so I can do some large-scale welding. And see, I am so proud of this. These doors are not actually automatic doors. They're automatic because I put these sensors in here, and I programmed them that as I approached within a certain distance, they would open or close. So they seem like automatic. I mean, they are now. I made them, but they weren't meant to be that way. You had to manually open them, but now I've got them like, I don't have to push any buttons. It just goes on its own. Now this, excuse me, this is something that, I don't know, I really, really, really like this because these doors here, well, first of all, rotors are tricky to work with. And they can handle a certain amount of weight, but you saw when I was trying to extend the pistons out there on the driller, that if it gets too heavy, they're just not going to be strong enough. So the idea is thinking, well, what can I put two of them to work together so that it'd be like double strong? And it's really, really interesting trying to figure that out. So I, obviously did a little bit of research, looked online, saw some videos about how to do it, and this was my experiment with trying to get two rotors attached to the same thing working at the same time, which is tricky because this rotor turns one direction, this rotor wants to turn the other direction because the angles are upside down. So you have to think about, well, what are the degrees of this one that it's turning? If I want this to swing from here to face outside, what degrees are that going to be for this one? And what direction is that going to be, clockwise or counterclockwise? Because that matters. And you got to think about this one down here. What are going to be the degrees of this one from facing this way to facing outside? What degree numbers are those going to be? And what direction is that going to be? Because they're going to be different. And you have to get them synced up so that they work together, even though they think they're going opposite directions in different degrees. They're going to turn the same way at the same time and swing this whole door open. Because if you don't, if I had this one going the wrong direction or the wrong degrees, it's going to try spinning one way, this is going to go spinning the other way, and the whole thing is just going to fall apart and break. So really, really challenging trying to figure out how to get two rotors facing opposite directions to actually spin a door like this. And this is super massive heavy. Like, it takes, gosh, how many? 140 steel plates to make just one of these squares. For comparison, the normal plates you use for building things only take 25. So this is like 5 times heavier than a normal armor block. So these are they're called blast doors because they're designed to take, blasts of energy, like attacks and things. They're designed to be durable and be defensive. So they are super, super heavy. And I've got these big, giant monster doors made of them. And I've got, rotors on this side. I've got rotors on this side. And I love this. This is so cool. I'm so proud of myself when I did this. You'll like this. Look at that. They work. They both swing open at the same time. The rotors turn together, swinging the doors. And on top of it, I got spinning lights that turn on. I've got an alarm that sounds. Because big giant blast doors opening up, that's dangerous. You got to have alarms for that. So I have alarms for that. It's so wonderful. And when I close them, same thing. It took me a while to figure out how to do this. Getting the rotors done took about, 3 hours. It took pretty much a whole evening to figure out how to get these doors to work, how to get those rotors synced up to where they're turning together to swing the doors open. And then it took me a while to figure out how do I get the lights and the siren to go, how do I get them to trigger when the doors open, and how do I get them to shut off when the doors stop. So that was kind of challenging. But eventually I figured out a very simple but brilliant solution. They're just on timers. This takes 15 seconds to open, so I have them run for 15 seconds. At the end of 15 seconds, this is done, and they shut off. Simple. Sometimes the simple solutions are best. But now we're going to show. I love that because these doors are so massive. It's so impressive. Just watching them swing open, you can feel the weight of them and how heavy they are. So now I want to show how I made this, because this is an exact copy of the mining ship that I had in the other game that I was showing. And I did not have to sit there and try and rebuild block for block all of the different things, because I would have messed it up somehow. Because I forgot how I built this. I forgot how I did all of this work in here to put the engines in there and all those different things. So I'm going to show you how it works. So what I've got on the back, this little thing here is called a projector. And this basically projects holograms. So what it did is by putting it on here, it made a blueprint of the original mining ship from my old game. And what I can do with that is I can come down here where I've got another projector set up. Here, this projector can now actually project that blueprint. So let's say I go into my control panel and I want that projector. No, that's projector. Or projector miner. Okay, gotta know which one's which. So I go to blueprints, it opens blueprints, and you can find blueprints online. You can go to the Steam Workshop and there are hundreds or thousands of different blueprints of things that people have made that you can get. So here's mine, so I just load that, copy it to clipboard, and there it is. There's the hologram blueprint. Now it's a little bit off center. I'm not sure why it does that, but for some reason it does. So we just have to go back to our projector and arrange a few things to get it lined up. So I want like a forward offset, I think 12, because that'll scoot it forward. Vertical offset, I think 4 was what we had. Horizontal offset, I think another 4. Everything else should be fine. Actually needs to go forward a little bit more. Projector, forward offset, let's make it 15. There we go. So now it's projecting this hologram. And so what I would do is I would go here and I would get a couple of, for my inventory, I want some steel blocks so that I can basically, from the projector, I want a block going from that projector to something on this ship. So you can see how this spot here is now a brighter section than everything else. That means that this spot can actually be built because it's connected to buildable blocks and it's a blueprint. So what I can do then is these welders are kind of stuck in place, but they are connected to my giant tank of components, and I've got this on pistons. So what you would do is I could turn on the welders. I'm not going to do it now because I'm not actually going to make it, but then I could extend the pistons, and as the pistons extend, the blueprint, as it moves out, these welders will piece by piece build all of the different things as they move past. And I built pretty much the entire ship. I think there were a couple spots that got missed, but they were just like little tiny pieces that were easy to fix. But it pretty much built me an exact copy of my mining ship from the other game. It took me a little while to figure out how to do it and how to build this setup to get it to work, but it works. It's not the most efficient, it's not the most elaborate setup. Again, there's people that have been playing this game for 5 years who have like massive, giant welding projector sites where they can build huge, giant ships. Me, I'm just a beginner, so this is what I got. And it worked. So I'm pretty pleased with it. So I can get blueprints offline, or I can make my own blueprints, and I can just print stuff out of this. When I first did this, I mean, seriously, I built the base, and I built the doors, and there was literally no reason for me to have the doors there. I was just playing around. I was experimenting. I was trying things to see if I could get them to work. And then I started thinking to myself, well, I've got the doors here. You know, I got to use them for something. And I wanted to try this whole, projector welding scenario setup thing. So, you know what? It looks like I designed it this way on purpose, with the doors in front of my component tanks, where it's the perfect spot to have the welders. But it was totally by accident. I'll be honest. It was totally by accident that these doors ended up in front of those tanks where I could build the welders and have this set up. I just lucked out. And sometimes that's just the way it is. You just kind of get lucky with things. Alright, so let's actually, you know what? I think I want to try building something else. So let's change the blueprint. I want to see if we can make something else. Let's go to blueprints. Let's go to this one. Did that change it? Okay, there's that. So here's a new ship. This isn't one of mine. This is something that I guess came from the people that made the game. They just kind of gave you some generic blueprints in here. So let's see if we can make this. Alright, so first of all, that is way, way, way offset. So we're going to need to move that back. So we're going to go here, go projector again, and we're going to need to offset. Let's offset that back to 0. Oh, that's not too bad. I think, however, that's still a little bit too, so we do need a couple up. So maybe about 3. So let's go projector again. Forward offset 3. Okay. That looks... Oh yeah, that looks reasonable. So I can actually probably end up taking that off, because I see that's going to line up with that engine. Alright, so now we have to move it. This one might actually be centered, so I can take the left side off, or whatever my sideways shift was. My vertical offset's fine. Horizontal, let's put that to 0. See what that do. Oh, yep, right there. Perfect. However, I don't like it. I actually want it rotated. So let's see if I can rotate it forward. Pitch, yaw, roll. Pitch forward 90. Did that do it? That did not do it. So, let's put that back. Let's try yaw 90. Oh, there we go. That's much better. Now it's going through. It's actually a little bit backwards. It doesn't really matter. But I am now going to have to move it forward a couple more squares. Actually, let me flip it around the other way. Let's try negative 90. Again, experimenting. Haven't done this before. Negative 90. Let's see what that did. Oh, that's better. Dum-dum-dum-dum. Really, then I can probably take out that. No, I'm probably going to need one here. There. We'll see how that goes. Alright, so we're going to experiment here. So I've got this new blueprint that I've never used before. Got it set up, and it looks like so I've got a connection of these blocks to the blueprint. So that means I should be able to start building. I think I've got all the parts I would need for this. You can see it's got a Gatling gun on the front, which is cool. Alright, so let's bring the piston back. Dun, dun, dun. It is kind of slow. And it needs to be, because the welders need time to do their work. So you can't have it zooming in and out. You can't. It's not a fast process. But it's faster than doing it by hand, that's for dang sure. Alright. So while that's working, is there anything else? Oh, well, while that's busy slowly creeping back, we'll do a quick tour up here, this is my living quarters control center. So we've got some decorations here, pretty much useless. These don't do anything, that doesn't do anything. I don't know if this does anything. It might, I don't know, I haven't tried it. I've got this holographic panel, and this is what's cool, is you can actually load the blueprints, and it will put them in hologram form here, so they can just like sit there. And you can admire it and say, ooh, isn't that cool? So this is my control station area where I can look out over my base and be amazed by my brilliance at designing it and building it. Or I can go out this side and look at the beautiful outside scenery, the nice, wonderful plains and the trees, the sunsets. Well, actually, I can't see the sunsets because it's over there. I'm facing pretty much due north. And in here, we've got the living quarters, which really this is just decorative. You don't really need to sleep. You don't really need to eat. I do sometimes need to recharge my health and energy. So that's what these are for. There's a kitchen here, but it's purely decoration. There's toilets. And there's a shower. Again, all this decoration just for funsies. Because, you know, it's a base. You gotta have basey stuff. You gotta have like control panels and living quarters and things. Otherwise, it just looks like a factory. Alright, here we go. So let's go back here and watch the automatic shipbuilding thing in action. Let's see how well it works with this. Again, I haven't done this one before, so I don't know. It may work, it may not. I'm actually thinking that's a little bit... Can I lower that? I don't think I can lower that. So, I wonder if I need a welder right there in the middle spot. Because I'm thinking some of this stuff up here may be a little bit too high for that one to reach. We'll have to see. I may have to make some modifications to my setup here. But let's just start. We'll turn on the welders. Oh, look, it's already started building things. Alright, so we'll just let it do its thing. Okay, it seems like it's done, so we'll trigger the pistons and let it start slowly. And see, it just builds on its own. Isn't that cool? Although it's missing... No, I'll probably get that later. Yep, there it goes. And it missed again. Whoa, oops. Yeah. Safety tip. Welders are hot. Don't run into them. They can kill you. So let me go heal myself for being stupid and running into the welders. There we go. And there it is. I did not design it. I did not have to put anything together aside from those couple starter blocks there. That's just the piston still going. And let me turn the welders off so I don't kill myself on them again. And it was just made completely automatically. Isn't that a cool system? I like that. So this way you can just do like mass production. And this is one of the things that I've seen in some of the videos where they have like PvP servers where people will have like different little clans and things. They will have fairly large arrangements of these built. And they will have blueprints of ships. Why is that wobbling so much? Here, let me do this. There we go. Now, if this was a bigger ship, I've got another piston back here that can lift this whole assembly up out of the way so that you can move this. Because That was one of the things that I had problems with when I built my mining ship, is I didn't have that piston there. So it was kind of built here, and then I had that sitting behind. I was like, how am I supposed to get it out? I got that in the way. Well, luckily, there was enough room for me to slide over here and back out this way. But then I thought, maybe I need to upgrade this design. So I tore these pistons down, put this piston in there, so if I need to, I can raise it up and get it out of the way so I can back out whatever ship I've created. Now this is not a flyable ship. Well, at least it's not for me to sit in. It has a camera on it, and somewhere in here is a remote control panel. So this is basically a drone that I can just have fly around. And it can guard things. That sounds like an interesting. Let's see if we can set it up. Actually, let's raise that out of the way. Let's go to my base piston. Piston projector base. Let's raise it up a meter. Alright, let's retract you. Now, here's a tricky part. How do I control that silly thing? Let's search for a remote control. I don't have remotes. Okay. What is in here? Antennas, assemblers, thrusters, batteries. There's a camera. Which one's that one? Oh, that's the one. That's the main door. I should name that. Sensor. Scooter doors. Alright. Let me think. Nope. Control panel. Inventory. I don't know. I'm not sure how I'm supposed to. Maybe I need to build a remote control block. Or maybe I go to my antenna. See if my antenna can see it. Antenna base. Neil broadcasting. Okay. Maybe I shouldn't have disconnected it right then. Maybe I should have kept it connected to my base so I could access it and do some controls. But, alright, well, maybe that's something we'll have to try next time. See if we can figure out how to make these little drones work. But for now, that's just kind of where things stand. I've got my wonderful little base with all those cool little things going on. Lots of production, lots of mining going on. Plenty of energy, lots of cool little ships that I've been building. Been having lots of fun trying to figure things out and saying, how can I do this? How can I make this thing work? And yeah, it's been fun. I know some of you guys don't like the idea of me not playing Minecraft. Say, oh, play more Minecraft, play more Minecraft. But seriously, can you do this in Minecraft? Can you make these things in Minecraft? I don't think so. So yeah, I think I kind of prefer this. It's got a lot more that you can do with it, I think. A lot more variety, a lot more problem solving. I'm still doing the mining. I'm just not doing it this way Minecraft does. I can make ships do it for me. I can have automatic things do the mining for me. I can set up mining stations that dig for me. And then have little drones that go out there and pick up the ore and come back. Lots of really cool things you can do with this. So, well, that's where things stand for now. I don't know, maybe we'll see again in a week or so when maybe we'll have a whole lot more stuff to show. Maybe I'll be in space by then, who knows? Probably not. I'm kind of slow at figuring things out, and I kind of like exploring the planet. So I'll probably stay here for a while, expand the base, um, maybe build on a few things. I don't know. We'll see. So there you go. That's where things have stand right now. That's what I've been up to, is building all this complicated stuff. So I hope you enjoyed it. Got any questions or comments, please leave them below. Otherwise, have a good time. Whatever you're doing, just be safe and have fun. See you later.